What up, watchers, listeners? Welcome back to another episode of What We Watch. This week was my pick, and I decided to kind of take off the gloves and pick one that I think we might have some disagreements on, kind of get a little bit of more action on the podcast, I guess you could say. But this week we're watching Godzilla, or I guess we watched Godzilla minus one, not 21, like it seemed like it sounded on the last podcast for whatever reason. Don't know why it sounded like that.
Not
But
21.
not
That was
21,
not what we
minus
watched.
one. No. Which ironically, minus one is actually the first Godzilla movie, I think. So it's not even the 21st.
My gosh.
Yeah. There's been a lot of these babies.
That sounds
Well,
like
yeah.
way too many Godzilla movies.
They eat it up in Japan.
I don't think there needs to be more.
I eat it up. So, like the American Godzilla movies, like the Godzilla vs. Kong movies, those are like my Fast and Furious is. I don't get the hype really behind the Fast and Furious franchise, but I love big monster movies. So I'm very eager to hear your thoughts on this. But before we get into that, this week we do have a fun segment, which is a little bit different than the ones we've done before. So, Natalie, are you ready for this fun segment?
Kind of. I think I might just have to wing it.
Nice. That's what these are for. That's what these are for. So the fun segment this week is Godzilla has appeared for whatever reason in Provo, Utah. And now you have to assemble a team of 3 fictional characters to go defeat Godzilla. So, who is your first pick to fight this monster?
My first pick, I'm going Iron Man.
Why?
Tony Stark. Because he's got the gadgets, he's got the brains.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's a good leader. Think he would get some people together. He's got the connections. He's got the money. I think he could get some stuff done with that.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. He can make a giant anti-Godzilla suit, probably.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's done other things before.
Mm-hmm.
Why not take out Godzilla?
Exactly.
Okay, who's your first pick?
I was actually gonna say Iron Man 2, but just for the sake of it being more fun, I'm gonna pick a different character. I wasn't gonna pick him because I was like, this is kind of too easy. But I read up a little bit on Godzilla after watching this movie and thought that this character I'm about to pick actually it'd be a good fight between the two. And I would pick Superman as my first
Ooh,
character.
I like it.
Because
I love
obviously Superman, big guy. If you've seen Man of Steel, he's not a stranger to leveling cities in his fights, which Godzilla loves to do. So I think they'd have a good fight. And Superman, I don't know, if I saw a big giant monster who could shoot essentially nuclear bombs out of its mouth, I'd want Superman to try to go stop him, I feel.
Definitely.
Mm.
I love it.
Who's your second pick?
Garrett, I don't know, but I think I might be going with Optimus Prime. No reason other than that it might be nice to have some, some muscles on the
Speeches.
team. Yeah, some motivation.
Mhm.
Love me some Optimus. I don't know that he would be able to really do anything, but
He could motivate Iron Man.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Love it.
My second pick, you're stealing all mine because I legitimately was also going to say Optimus Prime. I think, I would say probably trying to get that team chemistry going. Probably Batman.
Ooh.
Like Batman, if we're thinking like Christian Bale Batman, has no shot against Godzilla, frankly. Would die in a second. But Justice League Batman, I'm thinking kind of Ben Affleck Batman or cartoon comic Batman, which I'm sure you're very familiar with, Natalie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Think
Super familiar.
I think he has fought similar kind of alien monsters to Godzilla, and I think he could probably not make a giant suit like Iron Man would, but he could make some similar to what happens in this movie. He could fly around his head and kind of distract him while Superman
Ooh, I like it.
punches him.
Yeah.
Does the dirty work.
That'd be
But
good.
final member of the squad, Natalie.
I think it's always good to have some magic on your side, so I'm gonna go with Harry Potter.
Solid.
Do you like my team?
Harry Potter, Optimus Prime, and Iron Man. There's a lot of variety on the team.
That's what I was going for.
Yeah.
Not variety in. I should have got a girl in there, but maybe.
Yeah, be diverse. Be diverse.
Yeah, get something different going on. I mean, I do have a robot though. Who's to say?
That's true.
That's some
true.
diversity.
I don't know would Optimus Prime have. Never mind. I'm not gonna Never mind. We're gonna stop that thought there. Anyways, my last pick. Now I'm thinking because I want to have some diversity. I want to have a girl on the team, and the only person come to my mind is just gonna be lame. Actually, here I was gonna say Wonder Woman, but I don't want to just steal the DC Trinity. So I will say, even though I don't like her very much, probably
You're gonna
Captain
go Captain
Marvel.
Marvel.
Yep.
You know, that's okay.
Hmm.
You could go I'm trying to think what other, like, female characters, that could go against Godzilla, like, maybe Ahsoka?
Yeah. She just have to move pretty fast.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
what?
that's why
Wait.
you kinda need wait, what?
What am I thinking? I don't know why I didn't say this earlier. I'm probably gonna actually switch out Batman for King Kong. Yeah, pretty obvious one there that
Yeah,
neither of
but
us
that
really
one's
thought
too
about.
obvious.
That's true. That's
That one's
true.
like, they've
Two
done
on the
that.
nose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fine, I'll stay with Batman. But yeah. Batman, Captain Marvel, and Superman. I think they got
You
it.
know
I think they
what?
could save
You
us.
know what? Elsa.
Elsa.
Ice
Interesting.
powers.
Oh, that's true. That's true. She could freeze him.
She's a bad A. She could get stuff done. I don't
And
know. Plus,
she
she could sing doing it, so then you get
exactly.
music.
And didn't she fight those like big rock monsters or whatever in Frozen 2?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
she has experience.
exactly. I like
Perfect.
it.
We got
Well,
we got some variety in there.
yeah. I think our squads could save Utah. What do you think?
Yeah, especially if they teamed up together.
Definitely. I think my squad would be better than yours actually, but
But wait, what was your final squad?
Batman, Superman, and Captain Marvel, I would say. I'm gonna stick with
Okay,
those
well,
three.
mine would be more entertaining to watch.
Yeah, but like thinking about casualties, Natalie. I'm trying to think about how many innocents to save. Iron Man and Optimus Prime would be fun to watch, and Hermione, but like how many people are gonna die in that fight? You know what I'm saying?
Probably as much as died in this movie.
Yes, ma'am. Perfectly segues into this movie, Godzilla Minus One. Let me introduce it. I'll read a little
Tell us
plot
about it, Garrett.
synopsis. So, Japan, according to Google, Godzilla Minus One is a story about Japan has barely recovered from the Second World War when a gigantic peril emerges off the coast of Tokyo. Shikishima, a deserter traumatized by his first confrontation with Godzilla, sees this as an opportunity to redeem his conduct during the war. Godzilla Minus One came out in 2023 from Toho Studios in Japan, the parent company to Godzilla, and was a kind of, based on this overview, based on things I've talked about or read about, was kind of a big deal for the people in Japan because it was an anniversary for Godzilla, a kind of a celebration of a lot of his history because he's had a lot of history in terms of Japanese cinema and stuff like that. And so, with that context in mind, the movie kind of takes on a new light as well, just because it's kind of a celebration of the character and the stories and stuff like that. But as two people from America who I don't really know actually that much about Godzilla, a lot of that stuff goes over my head. So, on its own merits, what do we think of Godzilla Minus One? So,
You go first, Garrett.
I'll go first.
Wait, we have to start with plot, yes?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
reminder to our listeners: discuss like this. It goes plot, then favorite scenes, least favorite scenes, character, music, aesthetic, entertainment value, when to watch it, and then overall thoughts. So,
And our ranking system goes as follows. We give it a popcorn bucket ranking, small, medium, large, extra large. And then that is our objective opinion. And then the amount of butter we put on it is our subjective opinion. So you can do no butter, you can do some butter, just regular, or extra butter. Love it.
So, with those
So
out of the
tell us,
way,
yeah, tell us, Garrett.
so I give the plot of Godzilla Minus One an extra large bucket drowned in butter. This is, as someone who loves monsters, deep characters and themes, stories where people have to fight like ultimate evils, I'm extremely biased because this movie was made for people like me. I think the plot of this movie is godlike, pun intended. I recognize that for some people, it seems like it's not something really special. But for me, it works on pretty much every single level. I love the idea, the plot of it being a failed kamikaze pilot struggling with his own PTSD, now has to face, this ultimate evil even after returning from the war. It's such an interesting plot, such a kind of random idea that I think really works in this movie's favor. It feels very similar to Jaws almost. Obviously, in those boat scenes, very similar to Jaws. but even outside of that, of just an outsider trying to finally trying to fit in the world again, similar to the Chief Brody from Jaws, which is actually ironic because when I was reading up on this movie, I read a story where the director met with Steven Spielberg, and
Oh.
Steven said he had watched the movie like 3 times in the past couple months, and he said that he just loved it and couldn't stop singing its praises. And the director said it was like the greatest compliment of his life because obviously that's Steven
That's
Spielberg.
sweet.
But I love the connection between Shikishima and Godzilla. Just it's so interesting that Godzilla seems to have it out for this one dude specifically. And I'll talk about that when we talk about character a little bit more. I know people hate it when I say I'll talk about things later, but I do want to save that for my character thoughts. Just overall, I really, really love this movie. The themes of guilt and redemption and overcoming your past trauma and stuff like that, I found
Hey, there's some
very
found family in there too for you,
found
G, just
family.
to tie it with a bow.
Exactly, exactly. And I remember when I first went into this movie, I saw it in theaters when it came out, and
Dang, you an OG.
I heard because this movie back in 2023, end of 2023 when it came out, got so much praise, and I was like, really, like a Godzilla movie? Like I like these movies, but it can't be that good. Then I went and saw it and was blown away by it. And I initially went in thinking it was going to be kind of anti-American because obviously Godzilla is a metaphor for the nuclear bomb and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But it really is kind of just a message of anti-war and anti-nukes in general, and has a lot to say about the failings of the Japanese government during World War II and their inhumane treatment of the people, which I found like very surprising, even though to the people of Japan that's not surprising at all, because that's what those movies have been about since the beginning.
Mhm.
I just found that very oddly inspiring, like just the people coming together to face Godzilla after going through such a terrible history. Very David and Goliath, very underdog story, which I eat up. And it has a lot more to say than just being a Godzilla movie. A lot of Godzilla movies kind of the plot is there to serve Godzilla, whereas I feel like Godzilla here is to serve the plot, which is wild considering the past 50 years of 60, 70 years of Godzilla movies, however long it's been. But yeah, the I really can't stop singing its praises. I will be singing its praises this entire episode. But Natalie, let's hear your thoughts on it. Let's hear the opposite opinion.
Yes. Well, I will say this for our listeners. I wasn't really excited about watching this movie. I got 15 minutes into it and then took a nap.
Which is
And then
wild considering how the movie starts, but
I think it was just a combination of a lot of things, but also just the reading the captions, which isn't
yeah.
always a bad thing for me. But for my plot, I gave it a large popcorn bucket because objectively, I do think that this is a pretty solid movie, especially considering it is like a big monster movie, which Garrett is not my favorite thing.
Yep.
I hate to tell ya.
Mhm.
It is not my thing, not
And
even a
that's
little
why I
bit.
picked it.
And that's why I gave it light butter because I will
Mhm.
say I don't think it deserves no butter. Like I didn't
Mhm.
completely hate it, and I did really enjoy the like war aspects of it, like
Yeah.
the post World War II stuff. I thought that like things about it were definitely there were things about it that made me like it even though it is a big monster movie, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
definitely.
So, like, there were things that I liked. I really did like the whole, like, kamikaze aspect of it because I thought that that was cool that he was, like, dealing with, like, that guilt, but also, his struggles with PTSD and, like, the war and all that stuff. And like you were saying, I thought it was super interesting that because knowing that it was a Japanese movie, that they were actually, like, saying those things about
Japan.
Japan and the government and stuff because, when you're not living there and you're not like like I don't know, it's just weird to see. I mean, we do that here where we like go back in our history and we like yeah, that wasn't so cool. Look at all these mistakes we've made. But
Mhm.
it was just interesting to see another country do it in
Yeah.
their entertainment as well. And so I found that really interesting. But yeah, that's the grade I gave it. But I hate a monster villain that
Mhm.
you can't beat. Like, I hate it. It is one of
Yeah.
my least favorite things, but despite that, I did find some entertainment out of it.
Mhm.
So,
What are
hopefully that doesn't
some
break your soul, Garrett, but these
No, I
movies,
was
just like how you said these movies are made for you, these
yeah,
movies
are
are
not made for you.
not made for me.
Yeah. So
I'm the complete opposite.
what about monsters that are unbeatable don't you like in
It's
movies and stuff?
so infuriating. I hate
Mhm.
the destruction. I really do. Like, I hate just the
Mhm.
stomping around and
killing
killing
everybody.
everybody, and, like, I think you see that a lot in, like, superhero action movies too,
Mhm.
but for some reason, I don't know, I feel like with some of, like, the superhero movies and, like, destruction in that, like, I don't know why I can't think of one to, like, come to my brain, but at least there's, like, a brain behind it. Does
Mhm.
that make sense? Where it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, like, at least I can tell and I can hear the villain's side, and, like, even though it's wrong, I can, like they're justifying it for themselves,
Yeah.
so then it makes it more understandable to me when there's destruction and stuff, but or just like mass killings and,
Mhm.
just everything just makes a little bit more sense when there's like something behind it. Like Thanos, like
Yeah.
he thinks he's doing the right thing. Anyways, so I think that that's kind of why big monsters frustrate me. It's because I'm
Mhm.
like, what's the point?
Yeah. Like, "Why are you
The
doing
point
this?"
is and to be fair, like, I know you mentioned Jaws. I don't like shark movies either,
Yeah.
because it's like, "Okay, we're just having this animal kill these people." I don't like those kind of, like, animal movies
Yeah. Like man
where
versus
it's just like
beast type
yeah,
stories.
I just
Yeah.
don't think I like Man versus Beast in
Yeah.
general, unless it's like, I don't know, the smart, I don't know, gorilla movies. What are those even called?
Planet of the Apes,
Yeah, like Planet of the Apes or
which
something
might
where
make
it's
an
like
appearance on the podcast later. I love those movies. We might talk about that later.
might need to bring those in, but
Yeah.
like, I don't mind that because, again, it's like, okay, like, you're seeing the other side
Yeah.
and hearing it. Isn't there an X-Men movie? Is it a X-Men Apocalypse?
Which one?
X-Men Apocalypse?
But, like, what do you mean X-Men Apocalypse?
Isn't that a movie?
Yeah, but, like, what about X-Men
Okay,
Apocalypse?
but to be fair, because isn't the villain in that is kinda like an unbeatable villain that has some
Yeah,
sort of
to some no, are you talking about, Days of Future Past, like the robot guys?
I don't know which one I'm thinking of. There was an X-Men that also had a villain in
Mhm.
it that did have, like, maybe some justifiable things, but just I hate when there's no weakness either.
Yeah,
Does that make sense? Because 'Cause I'm just like, well
100%.
I'm like, "Why are we doing this?" Like,
Mhm.
I hate when there's no way out. Because obviously I want the people to win. Like, I want
Yeah.
in a movie like this, I'm, like, cheering for them, and I want them to survive, and I want them to come up with a solution. And that kinda leads into my least favorite scene if you want me to continue.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hated the scene at the very end when
Mhm.
Godzilla's freaking in this ocean and he's still kind of alive. I
Yeah.
hate that.
Mhm.
Nothing is more infuriating to me, and that's
Then
why when you
when
were talking
yeah.
about how many Godzilla movies, I'm like, "Can we be done? Godzilla's done enough.
Mhm.
That's enough. Be done." Like, where's his also, he's built so weird.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I hate his body structure.
Mhm.
Like, why do you look like that? Your tiny head,
His tiny head and his massive thighs.
the massive thighs. He has, like, such a weird, like, round midsection too. I'm like,
Yeah.
why is Godzilla low-key fat? And I don't know, it was just like, I do not like this.
Mhm.
Anyways, that's my thoughts. I'm sorry that I don't like it, but
No, this is great. This is great. I have so many follow-up questions. This is exactly what I wanted. This is just gonna turn into an interrogation, essentially. So, fun fact just about Godzilla's design is in this movie specifically, because this isn't tied to any of the other movies, it's just kind of its own Godzilla story. The design of it is supposed to be reminiscent of a Japanese like demon god monster. I can't remember what they're called specifically, but like specifically in his face, he's supposed to like look exactly kind of like how their demons in their media look like. Which I find super interesting. Very scary. Godzilla's scary looking in this movie, which I
yeah.
can't really
When
say
I
about
also like
others.
I didn't mind his face, I thought his eyes were really scary.
Yeah,
It was just
but
when he
it's
was like
his thighs.
it's his thought it was just when he was,
Yeah.
like, stomping around that I was like, "Bro, that's ugly."
And
I'm
that
like,
is
if anything, at least be, like, a good-looking monster, you know?
and
Because
that's
I will say after I finished this movie, I looked it up
yeah.
because I was like, "Does Godzilla always look like this?"
Mhm.
And he somewhat always kind of does look like that. It's very,
Yeah.
like, T-Rex-ish, but,
Oh,
like, times a million. I just like when they have longer, like, it didn't look, like, muscular to me.
it just looked fat.
It just looked, like, gross.
Yeah, exactly, but that's the point, is you're not Godzilla's supposed to be ugly, like, you're supposed to hate looking at him because it's like, this is so unnatural,
That's fair. But it
but
also did not look like a sea creature.
So the actual design of Godzilla, I came to find out the original design, which this takes a lot of inspiration from, was reminiscent of what they thought the T Rex looked like back in the 50s when that first movie came out.
Mm.
So they combined like what they knew about dinosaurs and made Godzilla look like that. And so that's why he looks so disgusting in this movie because it's what he looked like in the original, but kind of in the modern era. So it just looks horrible. And I freaking love it. I freaking love his design. But just to kind of speak on the man versus beast trope, I think one of the reasons I really like it is because a lot of the times a man versus beast type story like Jaws, like this movie, the actual beast is there to kind of heighten and serve as kind of highlighting the main character and their struggles and their character arc. Whereas, like, I love a story, obviously, where you have two, like a protagonist, antagonist who have their separate arcs that kind of come together and stuff like that. I probably like that more. But Man vs. Beast, I just really, really love because you can just spend a lot more time with one specific protagonist rather than having to bounce back and forth between the two. So like can really dive deeper into that person's arc, that person's psyche and that type of stuff. But yeah, that's just kind of why I really like
Why
Man
you
vs. Beast
appreciate
stories.
it.
But to talk about my least favorite scene, since you talked about your least favorite scene, it's not really a specific scene, but I do think the pacing between Godzilla's first attack and the finale, like the final fight, final battle, could be a bit better. Like it's not bad by any means. I think all those scenes are important, obviously, and I really like a lot of those scenes. But I think it does drag just a smidge. Where it's like,
Wait,
okay,
say
they're
that again? The pacing between what scenes?
between Godzilla's attack on like the city and then the
Uh,
finale scene, like all
mhm,
the preparation and stuff, which is really
mhm.
important. Like we needed all that, obviously. But I think there's just one or two scenes that could maybe be shortened or
Yeah, I will
changed
tell you
around
this
a little bit.
too. I do agree. I fully agree. But also, that also is at the point of the movie where I was like, okay, I get what's happening. Like, let's just
Yeah.
get this over with. And I may or may not have put it in 1.5 speed.
Oh, that's totally fine. I was actually thinking when I was watching this today, I was like, I want to watch this movie a little faster because I want to get to the end a little faster. But that's kind of just,
I was like, I have to see it through. Like, and I did want to make sure that I was watching it the way that you told me to watch it without like the dubbing and stuff. So I made sure I was
yeah,
watching with subtitles. But I was like, y'all, we got to get through this. I have
yeah.
to speed it up.
And in regards to your least favorite scene of the ending, I just always kind of, because obviously they want to make a sequel to this because it was such a big success both in America and in Japan. Just kind of all over the world. It was pretty successful. So they're going to make a sequel. We don't know when that's going to happen. And we don't know if it's with these specific characters or there's going to be a time jump because
Mhm.
Godzilla is essentially regenerating from like one like portion of his body. So I imagine these characters in my head anyways get to live their full happy lives and then the next generation will have to fight Godzilla again. So that's how I kind of still view it as a happy ending just in my head. That's how I cope. I'm like they killed him for now. Like it's fine. Like they'll be fine.
I'm
They'll
like, all
all
that work for nothing?
yeah,
That's
they'll live their
ridiculous.
lives. They'll live their lives. And yeah, I think I'll just end it there. But favorite
Love it.
scenes, Natalie, what are your
Favorite
favorite
scenes.
scenes?
Let me pull up my notes.
Because you gave it some butter.
Yeah, I was glad. I'm sorry, I don't know any of the characters' names either because it
Oh,
was all
it's
in
okay.
Japanese, but I was glad that our main guy ejected out of his plane at the end.
Mhm.
Um, I also liked in the final scene when that guy with the arm sling showed up.
Yeah, the kid.
Yeah, no, I always love those kinds of tropes in shows. They mostly happen in like war movies, right? Where it's like, no, like we don't need your help. And they're like, but I want to help. And then they
Yeah.
show up and they have like an army with them. I love that stuff.
Mhm.
I don't know why.
It's like the Endgame portals type scenes.
No, it's like the endgame portals or
Yeah.
like, I don't know why I'm thinking of, isn't in Dunkirk when the guy like the all the
Yeah.
civilians
Yeah, yeah.
come in their boats, like that kind of stuff, I eat that up, so and then just him reuniting at the end with, his not wife and kid.
Yeah, all those scenes are fantastic. I actually have a decent amount of those scenes on my list as well. I have a pretty long list, so I'm going to try to run through these fast because I love so many scenes in this movie. But the top one is, like you said, when he ejects out of his plane at the very end, and it cuts back to the flashback
Mhm,
of when the technician guy is talking to him, and he says, live. And he kind of just, in that moment, forgives him for how he froze up at the very beginning and stuff like that. And
mhm.
I just find that scene so, every time I watch it, I kind of get Not necessarily emotional, but I feel like the little glassy-eyed feelings of just like, "Dang, it's so nice to see him, like, be able to move on and finally overcome his trauma," and stuff like that.
Yeah, I
I
will say
really,
that
really
that's
love
why I
that.
liked that scene was the little, like, jump.
Yeah.
And also just, like, the gratitude because they had talked about earlier, when they were coming up with the plan and, like, they were all
Mhm.
coming together and they're like, "Our government, like, never gave us options for, like, living and, like, they didn't give us ejection seats and all that
Mhm.
stuff," and so, like, his gratitude for him including that in the plan, I thought was cool too.
Yeah. Amazing, fantastic. And I love when it cuts back to the technician guy, like, listening on the radio when they
Oh,
say,
yeah,
like, "Oh,
and the
Shigashima
he
survived," and
survived.
he's like he, like, kinda gets a little teary-eyed and closes his eyes and just looks so, like, grateful, and it's just so nice because that guy, like, hated him, but then he's
Mhm.
able to, like, forgive him in that moment, and I really love that. But besides that scene, just the whole ending fight, I really, really love. It's very intense, very clever, just pretty awesome in my opinion. I love the music in that scene a lot, and then, like you said, the scenes of when they're coming up the plan and they're talking about like we must be better than how we were treated in World War II. Like we need to move on and become better human beings and care about each other again. I really love the line "My war is not over" is so hard. I freaking love that line. So I really love that scene when he says that. And then obviously every scene with Godzilla. I eat that up. The destroying of the
Yeah,
city.
like, all my least favorite scenes are when
Mhm.
Godzilla is involved.
Destroying of the city, fantastic, so good. The boat scene when they're shooting the bombs in his mouth, love that scene. And the opening when he first shows up and he's small Godzilla and he kind of terrorizes everybody on that little island. That scene, I remember watching that in theaters and being just like shocked, like, how am I so invested in this movie? It just started and this is a Godzilla movie. But yeah,
That's so
anytime he
funny.
uses his atomic breath and he just blows the
Yeah,
crap
it's
out of
crazy.
something, I freaking love it.
The beginning scene, I think part of the reason maybe why I needed to take a nap was because after the beginning scene, I was like, "Oh my gosh, we're already dealing with Godzilla. How
I
much
can't deal with this. Yeah.
how much of this can I take?"
Which ironically, this is one of the movies where of the Godzilla movies, he has the least amount of screen time. Fun fact.
Good. Well, then I'm glad you
Yeah.
chose this one.
And normally in a lot of modern Godzilla movies, he's like a good guy. He like fights the bad monsters. This movie, he's not. He's very much the bad guy.
No.
But
Love it.
moving on to character, Natalie, what are your thoughts on the character?
Well, again, I don't know any of their names.
I just have started to like finally be able to. This is my third time.
I tried to write notes, and I was just like, I don't even know their names. The little girl was my favorite character.
Akiko.
Was Akiko. Yep. She was my favorite. I liked the main guy. I wanted him to do good, and I wanted him to overcome his trauma and issues and all that stuff. I didn't give it a rating. I just started talking. I gave character large with butter. I think that I mean, other than Godzilla, who I hate.
Yeah.
I think all the characters were done very well. I think I liked all of them. I thought they all had their interesting storylines. I
Mhm.
thought, I didn't like wait, what's the wife's name? That's not the wife, Noriko. I liked her a lot. What was the auntie's name?
I don't know. I can't
The
remember.
auntie I really liked. What other characters do we need to chat about?
All just the kind of boat squad, the
Oh
doc,
yeah, I liked the boat
the
squad, the
captain, and the kid.
doctor guy that came up with the plan. Why did he have crazy hair?
I don't know. I was thinking about that this watch. I was
Like,
like, why does
I'm
he
like, is he
have
supposed to be
that
like
hair? Yeah.
Einstein? Like, I don't know what's going on. But yeah, no, I pretty much thought that they were all good. I don't really have anything negative to say about the characters, but I also wasn't paying as much attention to characters as I was to just like the overall movie because
Mhm.
I was just trying to like figure out what was going on.
Yeah, because of the
And
subtitles and
mostly reading
such.
a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
But the kid was my favorite.
Mhm.
Loved her.
I love
I
her
really
too.
just wanted somebody to be there for her. And
Yeah.
guess what? She got them all back.
She got
Dude,
everybody
wait, what's the wife's name?
Noriko
Noriko. When Noriko freaking pushes him against
behind
the
the
like behind the wall and she goes flying, bro. I was so mad. I was like, "Bro, you gotta be kidding me." I
with
was like, "Not." I'm like, also not him, like with the destruction that happened. First of all, how did she survive?
yeah.
Second of all, Like, how did that wall that he happened
Was
to be pushed
behind,
through and
not get
also, like,
destroyed,
it's just as easy to, like, not push him, but, like, literally
dive
tackle
behind.
him,
Yeah.
like but he just needed to go through more trauma so that he
Mhm.
could, face his demons or whatever. I don't know.
I
Those
was about
those
to
are
I was
my
about to bring
thoughts.
that up too, of how in the like, how did she
No, that's the
survive?
stupidest thing I've ever
Like,
seen. I was like
I
I knew at the end when the aunt got the letter, I was like, "She's
yeah,
alive." There
yeah,
were so many things I will say I do feel like this movie was pretty predictable.
yeah, it gives into tropes, a lot of
Yeah,
tropes.
it's very predictable. So, like, I knew what was, like as long as I was following it, like, I knew what was going on and what was probably gonna happen. When she got
Yeah,
that letter well, first of all, when she died in the first place, I was like, "I don't think she's dead," but then I was like, "That was so
mhm.
violent, though, like, she probably is." And then she got the letter at the end, and I was like, "She's alive."
So I this time around, because this is always that ending where she's alive has always been like a for me, it's like, oh, that's sweet because that makes his like he's able to like finally have his family and stuff like that. And I think that's super sweet. But I'm also like, how the heck did she survive? But it just kind of I'm like, whatever. More crazier things have happened in other movies. But this time around, I was like, let me see if there's actually an explanation for this. So I went online and I checked it, and I don't know if you noticed, but which I noticed my second and third times my last 2 times watching this movie, didn't my first time for whatever reason, even though they focus on it. But in the hospital, when she's like hugging him, she has like a mark on her neck that like kind of is veiny and like starts growing a little bit. I don't know if you saw that.
Did
It's
not.
like they like focus on it, but somehow I missed it my first time. So I'm not surprised you missed it either because I was just so shocked she was alive. But the reason that she survived, according to the director, based on that like veiny thing, is Godzilla throughout the movie and throughout the franchise is shown to be able to like regenerate essentially. And there's things called G cells, which whenever Godzilla attacks like a city, which they talk about very briefly in this movie, he leaves behind like residual like levels of gamma and radiation and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And so she according to the director, has like was like infected with parts of like the G cells, which like
Mm.
helped her regenerate from her injuries. Which she's not like obviously fully healed. She has a bandage over half her face, obviously, but that's just kind of the Godzilla-esque explanation for how she survived. Which still, I'm like, okay, come on, she was like flew back like 2 miles, but whatever.
Yeah, I was like, "Whatever." It's like, "Okay, this
But
guy survives again."
yeah, so I gave character large bucket with normal butter, just like the normal amount of butter.
Was that what I gave it? Period.
Potentially. But I have a lot more good things to say about it than you did, obviously. But I think the characters are really, really solid. I love everybody that you talked about, like Noriko, Akiko, the ant lady next door, especially that scene where she's like, count me out. I'm not going to help you guys. And then immediately after, she's like with the
Starts
kids.
helping. Yeah.
Yeah. Because she just can't help but be a mom, especially after she
Mhm.
talked about how both her sons died in the war or whatever. I really like that. Like I said, I love the technician guy, the mechanic who's only in it a little bit, but he does so much with his time in that movie.
Mhm.
The whole boat crew, they're so awesome. I love all of them. But I gave it just normal butter because I think while all the side characters are great, there are similar characters in other stories that I think fill those tropes a little bit better, like the kid roles or the captain or the doctor or whatever. Still, they're all great, but there are other characters in different stories that I think just hit those notes a little bit better for me. But that said, Shikishima, the protagonist, I really, really love. And Godzilla, I really, really love because I do think Godzilla has somewhat of a character in this movie. I think the pilot guy, Shikishima, is a very amazing just protagonist. His arc of redemption and kind of wanting to live, I think, is really, really strong. Very great in terms of just inspiration and overcoming his trauma and stuff like that. His scenes, like a lot of his scenes with the wife, not wife, Noriko, in their house, kind of play off as almost like theater monologues, I feel, which I really, really love. It just watching those two actors act, which I really liked. So yeah, I just really think he was very captivating, very easy to root for, which we say with like every protagonist that we talk about on this podcast.
But that's the point.
But that's the point. You want to root for the
If
protagonist.
you're if we are rooting for your protagonist, then something's mega wrong with your story.
Exactly. Like even when you watch Breaking Bad, you're rooting for Walter White, even though he's a terrible person. It's not until the very
Yeah,
end you're like, wait, he was the bad guy. Spoilers for Breaking Bad, by the way. But
never seen it, but
yeah, I don't know if you'd like it. But in terms of Godzilla himself, he has insane aura anytime that man is on screen, I am glued to it. I am terrified of him, and I am just in awe of the like scale and scope of those scenes. And they managed to make Godzilla scary, which in terms of context of all of the other Godzilla movies, it's kind of crazy that they were able to make him scary in this movie because he's kind of goofy looking and a joke, which he still is goofy looking in this movie. But I feel kind of how we talked about it. It's more unsettling and gross than it is goofy.
Yeah, I do
And
not like him.
when I was researching just some facts about this movie, the director talked about how in a lot of American Godzilla movies, he's just kind of big monster, whereas in Japan, he's always been half monster, half god, which I thought was
Mhm,
super interesting, which I never thought about. And that kind of influenced, like I said, his Japanese demon design. And I love his specific rivalry with Shikishima. Like, he just hates this guy specifically. There's so
mhm.
many scenes where at the beginning, when he's in the plane and has the opportunity to shoot him and just kill him right there, Godzilla like turns and looks at him directly in the eyes and he just freezes and doesn't know what to do. And same thing when he's flying his plane into him at the very end. Godzilla's staring directly at him and he's just looking him dead in the eyes now. Not like in the beginning, he breaks his gaze and he's too scared to even look at him. But at the end, both of them just like make eye contact right before he smashes into him. And I love that. I think that's so dope. But in terms of Godzilla as a character overall, in all forms of media, I think here he just is potentially his strongest, in my opinion, because he's so scary and so evil. Whereas a lot of the times he's kind of a good guy, but here he's very just, I want to kill this dude and everybody he loves, which is so interesting. But,
Yeah,
anyways, my thoughts
love
on
it.
the character.
Good.
So,
What's the next?
music. Natalie, what did you think of the music in this movie?
I gave it medium popcorn bucket, no butter.
Boo.
I genuinely cannot remember a single part of the music.
Hmm.
Couldn't tell you. But I also will say it could have been because, again, this was in Japanese. I was not paying attention to the music.
You were
I was
so
trying to.
locked into the subtitles, everything
I
else
was
just went out
well,
the window.
I had to freaking figure out what's going on. If I didn't know what was
Mhm.
going on, I couldn't talk about it. So
Yeah.
that could have been influenced by that, but there just wasn't really anything that I like. I thought it fit the movie.
Yeah,
But yeah,
definitely.
that was my take.
I gave the music large bucket with extra butter because
Period.
the Godzilla theme is obviously to some people that listen to this know that it is one of the most iconic themes in cinema, just the Godzilla theme itself.
Me not knowing at all. I was
Yeah,
like,
which
I don't know what this is.
Which only it only to be fair, it only plays twice, I think, in this movie. One, it plays the beginning theme when he's destroying the city, and then two, during the final battle scene, it plays the full theme. And when I watched that in the theaters, I was waiting the whole time for the Godzilla theme to come on because it's so iconic and it's in every movie. And then the moment when it hits, when Godzilla shows up and the people on both boats are like, "All right, what are we gonna do this? Like, what are we gonna do? Do we need to like evacuate? Are we actually gonna follow through with it?" And the general guy says like full steam ahead, let's go, and then the theme kicks
Mhm.
in as they start doing their job and their mission. I got like full
Hey
body
gosh, I was gonna
chills.
say you got full body chills. Love
That
it.
the theme is so good.
Which I think,
And
like, if I had maybe known,
mhm,
like, this
yeah,
I think this is the only Godzilla movie I've seen.
yes.
I
So yeah,
clearly don't know,
exactly.
but I can appreciate maybe I'll give it a large popcorn bucket because from you, hearing that
Hmm.
there was fan service in there because of the music, I always appreciate that. Like,
Yeah,
I always appreciate making sure that you like, continue. I think theme music is so important in
exactly.
storytelling, and so like now hearing that that was a part of it, awesome. That's great.
Yeah,
I give it large popcorn bucket now.
let's go. I changed her mind, everybody. I did it, even if it was just on the music.
You didn't change my butter though.
But yeah, I think other than the main themes, I really love just the score in general because it's very subtle. I don't think it's necessarily surprising that you didn't pick up on it a lot of the time because it is just kind of very subtle in the background.
What's subtle and it's also like nothing unique, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Like
Yeah.
it's not like Star Wars music where it's like, okay, here are these themes and they're also like very unique, like John Williams.
Mhm.
Like Star Wars music is like literally putting you into a different galaxy. Like you're like
Exactly. Yeah.
whereas with this it's like
They're sad
I
after
could
World
have
War
heard this
II.
could have heard this in any other movie, if that makes sense.
I think it serves kind of exactly what you were saying. It serves its purpose as it fits the movie very well. I do think there's some songs, some parts of the score that like you said, could fit. It's like this isn't really specific Godzilla. I feel like this could be in
Mhm.
any movie.
Yeah.
But that being said, I do still think overall the music is very haunting when it needs to be haunting, very
Mhm.
beautiful and inspiring when it needs to be inspiring. One of my favorite scenes is when the kid is saying let me join you guys tomorrow
Mhm.
at the fight, and then the doctor and the captain tell him that he has to stay behind, and the kid the entire
They're
movie
walking
is
away.
like, I wish I
Yeah.
could have been part of the war, and they're
Mhm.
all like, no,
No,
you don't
yeah.
want to have been. And so I love that scene when they're walking away and he's just begging them to let him come with them. And I really like the music there. Yeah, I listen to this score a lot actually, just while I'm driving and doing other things as I'm doing my own writing, because I find it very just beautiful when it needs to be, haunting when it needs to be, like I said, and that main theme again. Every time that comes up on my playlist, it hits. It's just so good. But
I'm
yeah,
happy that it did it for you, Garrett.
yeah. I'm sad it didn't for you, Natalie.
It's fine. I it was gonna take a lot for the music to, you
To
know, to
hit you.
yeah, it was gonna take a lot because,
Hmm.
like I said, this is not my movie. But I will
Exactly.
say, I did give, Aesthetic a large popcorn bucket,
Oh, ho, ho. Let's talk about that.
and I gave it butter.
Oh, ho, ho.
I thought it was a beautiful movie.
Mhm.
Like, I really did. Whenever there was, like, especially, like, the more intimate scenes, like, when they're just, like, at the house or something, like, there were shots that I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is like a painting," like and
Yeah.
the color grading of it, I thought was so beautiful. Like, I was just
Mhm.
like, "This is" if this movie was about anything else, like, dang, you know?
Mhm.
But I thought like I said, I thought it was really pretty. What did I write? I put in my notes for this part about I felt like Godzilla, maybe also part of the reason why his design in this movie felt so weird to me was because of how out of place it felt
Yeah.
within the movie, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Because again, like I said, there were some shots that I was like, dang, like this is so pretty. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but just
Mhm.
like I said, the more of those, like, intimate scenes, like, at the house or, even just, like, the, like, drone shots of, like, the ships and stuff. It's like,
Mhm.
dang, there's some pretty shots in this,
And
but
then it
I
cuts to a
and
giant
then and
dinosaur.
then you have giant dinosaur in there, and you're like,
Yeah.
"What's going on?" And especially, like, the setting of it being post World War II, like, the time period, and then to
Mhm.
just have this, like, giant CGI monster.
Mhm.
You're like
Yeah, it's like,
but
"Oh,
anyways.
this is a Godzilla movie."
Yeah, this is a Godzilla movie, not
Yeah.
a post World War II.
And I
It's
think
both. Psych, it's
exactly.
both.
For me and a lot of just kind of fans of Godzilla, it's interesting you say you're watching this movie, the color grading, the cinematography is so good, and then you're reminded, oh yeah, this is a Godzilla movie. For me, that's kind of the cool aspect of it is it's a Godzilla movie that has all of these amazing parts of it. Like it has this type of cinematography, it has this care put into it. When usually in Godzilla movies, it's kind of just cheaply thrown together, at least the American
Totally.
versions and the older ones cheaply thrown together, just like let's have this big monster fight another big monster. But
Yeah, which
being
I
able
think
to
is fair.
watch, yeah, being able to watch this movie and have it look this good and feel like a regular movie, but it's a Godzilla movie is so it's something I've wanted to see in a lot of other things as well. Like I
Mhm.
want superhero movies to feel like this, to look this good consistently. I want alien movies. I want all these things to look as good as this movie
Yeah,
does
to be
and
taken
still
seriously.
exactly. And so my aesthetic, I gave it an
Nice series.
overflowing bucket, and I'll explain why in a second. But overflowing bucket with extra butter because kind of everything you said, cinematography, sound or cinematography, color grading, top notch, amazing. I think the sound design is really, really, really good. The anytime Godzilla's on screen, his roar is so loud and monstrous. His atomic breath is really just sounds very satisfying, especially when it's building up and his like dorsal plates are shooting out. I really love that. But the reason why I gave it an overflowing bucket is, believe it or not, this movie was made on a $10 million, which to some people might sound like a lot of movies or like a lot of money. But the average Hollywood blockbuster these days is around $100 million or
Jeez.
$150 million. And this movie on a $10 million budget looks better than pretty much every other movie coming out these days.
Love it.
The effects, in my opinion, and a decent amount of cinephiles' opinions, are some of the best effects in modern movies. It won an Oscar for the effects, actually, which the Oscars are kind of a joke, but still pretty cool.
But still, won one though.
Exactly. And on a $10 million budget, they were able to make the effects look this good, specifically Godzilla
Mhm.
himself. look so good. Like there's some shots where it's like that's doesn't look great. But most of the shots in here with Godzilla in it or some sort of CGI special effect look fantastic. And it was only made on a $10 million budget with 35 people on the VFX team,
Jeez, that's
which
awesome.
when you look at the average Avengers movie, there's like hundreds of people on the
Yeah.
special effects teams. So that's why I
Dang,
gave it
okay.
overflowing bucket
Okay,
because
I'll give it extra large bucket then.
look at
Still
that.
not giving it more
2 in a
butter though.
row. 2 in a row.
See, sometimes I just need to be educated.
That's what some of my movies I'm assuming are gonna just be about, like me talking to you about the kind of behind the scenes aspects of it. I think
Yeah, because you
in
like that nerdy stuff.
exactly, in your picks, you'll be able to change my butters sometimes. In my picks, I
That's
think I'll be
fair.
able to change your buckets sometimes.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
All right, so moving on to some of our last categories. Entertainment value, Natalie. I think
Yes.
pretty much everybody will know what you put as your entertainment value. Now, for this one, we're not giving it a rating, right? We're just kind of giving
Yeah,
our thoughts
we're
on
just
it.
gonna chat about entertainment value because I feel like
Mhm.
entertainment value and what your overall score is a little too similar sometimes. So we're just
Yeah.
gonna chat about it. But for me, I gave entertainment value. I said for me personally,
Mhm. Like,
it
this is
was
a butter
not.
specific type category.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Like objectively, yeah, it's a good movie, I think.
Mhm.
But for me, entertainment value, not entertaining.
Mhm.
I feel like it was hard to pay attention with the caption and translating and everything, but even beside that, I told Annie after I finished it that I don't think I'd watch that movie even if it was in English.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't choose to watch it
Mhm.
because Godzilla movies are not made for me. They're made
Mhm.
for people like Garrett, and that's okay. And I am glad that I watched it
Yeah.
as reluctantly as I did. But I was glad I watched it. It had good themes in it and stuff. It was a little tricky for me to get through.
Yeah.
I watched it in 3 parts, 15 minutes, and then I think I watched another 45 minutes, and then I watched the end. So,
Yeah.
not to say that it's not a good movie. Objectively, I do think it is a
Of
good
course, of
movie.
course.
And I do think if you like big monster movies, if you like Godzilla, if you like that sort of thing, you will like this movie.
Yeah.
But if you don't like those things, I don't think this movie will change your mind.
No. No. Actually, I do know a few people who not to put down
Not
that point because I do think if you're not a fan of these types of movies at all, this movie's gonna have to win you over hard, which for a lot of people I don't think it does, but I have seen online and just a couple people I know who don't like Godzilla movies at all really actually ended up liking this movie.
That's
Not
fair. I do
to
think that, like, if you like this kind of movie, like, if you're
yeah,
open to, like, big monster movies, that you're just looking for something that has a little extra sauce, a little bit more substance to it,
substance. Yeah.
I think that you will like this movie. It's just, like, something because I do think that this, like, has those pieces that some of those movies might be missing for
Mhm.
people who want to like them, but feel like they're just kind of substance level or, like, surface level.
Yeah.
I think that those kinds of people could, but if you're just not into those movies, this isn't gonna change your mind,
Yeah, definitely.
if that makes sense.
100%. And this is not related at all, but it just came into my head. It's funny because this movie came out in 2023, right after the whole Barbenheimer craze, or a couple months after
Oh,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's really funny because there are so many memes when it first came out of Oppenheimer, because Oppenheimer obviously about creating the nuclear bomb and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And then Godzilla is created from the nuclear bomb, like he gets his power from that. So
yeah,
people were like, this is a sequel to Oppenheimer, which was very
that is
funny,
funny.
which has nothing to do with what we were just talking about. But I just thought it was funny. For me, entertainment wise, like I've been saying this whole time, I think it's spectacular. I really, really love it. If you love monster movies, if you love deep rooted like character stories and you can get past subtitles, which it took me like I really liked it my first time, but it was my second viewing where I was really able to kind of okay, I know where the story is going, so I can
Mhm.
focus more on that on the character aspect of it. It's really, really, really strong. But like I said earlier, it does drag a little bit in the middle portion during kind of after the city attack. And it is a heavy movie, I would say. So it's not really a turn on any time type of movie. Like I'm never going to turn this on when I'm like cleaning my room or I'm doing
Nah.
laundry or something like that. This is a movie where I have to be in a very specific mood to watch it. So I do personally think it's rewatchable because I mean, I've watched it 3 times now and I will plan to continue to watch it. but it's a very few and far between rewatch. Whereas,
And
like
it is a lock-in movie. Like,
exactly.
you gotta be prepared to sit down and be fully 100% attentive.
Like, put down your
So,
phone type
yeah, no
movie.
phones, no games, can't just be on in the background unless you know
Exactly.
Japanese.
Exactly. So, moving on to our next category, which I think this one is a little harder than the others we've done for this one
I
of
agree.
when to watch.
I'll start.
Go ahead.
I think you should watch this movie. Yeah, this one is kind of hard because I just put summer just because I feel like those kind of big monster movies are in the summer anyways.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know, I don't think I do think you're correct in that it's, like, a little heavier, so if you
Mhm.
want I don't know. So maybe it's not a summer lighthearted movie? I don't know, what do you think?
I put just kind of thinking about the subject matter and the cinematography and colors being like very cool. Feels cold a lot of it towards until the end when it gets a lot warmer. I put it as end of winter, beginning of spring type movie. So kind of
Okay.
around this
Around
time,
this time?
really, like
I wonder if
March,
the reason
February
why I
type
thought it was
vibes.
summer is because there's so much water in it,
Yeah, definitely.
you know?
I
Like, it
definitely
felt
see that.
beachy, like it starts on the beach.
Hmm.
The weather is warm in the whole movie.
Yeah. I I definitely see that, but because of I noticed it this time when I was watching it, it's so cold almost the whole time in terms of its colors. It's very blue, very gray, that type of stuff. Until when they defeat Godzilla at the very end and the sun breaks through the clouds and the rest of the movie it's warm and yellow and they've Shikishima's redeemed himself and all this stuff. Because of that, I thought the vibes were like
Or winter.
winter spring,
I
winter
like it.
springish.
Maybe
Rebirth,
it's an all
if you
year
will.
movie. It's a
Maybe.
whenever you're in the mood movie.
Yeah. I watched it. It came out in November, I believe, of 2023, November or December. So maybe it's that type of movie. I don't think it is, but teach their own.
Yeah, interesting. This one brings
Okay.
no thought. I feel like I'm a very much like for most things for like music and movies and stuff, like I have my
Mhm.
seasons. This one, maybe it's because it wasn't something that I would choose to watch again. So I'm like, I don't know when I would watch this again because I don't think I'm going to.
Yeah, definitely. And it
But
doesn't
so maybe the winter, end of winter. This time, hey, if you haven't watched this movie, watch it now.
yeah, watch it right now. Hopefully
Mhm.
we've kind of spoiled the entire thing. So hopefully most people have watched it, who've listened to this. But even if you haven't, I still highly recommend it. So
Love it.
last but not least, what are your overall thoughts of Godzilla minus one?
I gave Godzilla minus one a large popcorn bucket with light butter.
We got some butter,
Objecti
everybody.
Objectively good movie, like I said, but entertainment-wise, not quite for me.
Mhm.
There was a little bit I mean, there were parts that I enjoyed, for sure, but I don't think it deserves any more butter than that from me.
Yeah, fair. That's
Sorry,
fair.
Garrett.
Whatever. Whatever. I'm happy I could educate you on
Yeah, you changed
expanding
my
your
mind.
palate. One of these
Yeah.
days, years from now, when we have so many episodes or whatever, once I've indoctrinated you into my thought process, we'll return and you will have different thoughts.
We'll see.
That's my goal.
Don't know
That's
if
my
that's
goal.
gonna happen.
That's my goal. But my overall thoughts, extra large bucket with extra butter. One of my favorite movies of 2023 might be my favorite movie of 2023. Probably objectively speaking, probably like Oppenheimer or something like that, I would say is the movie of 2023. But for me, I would say that this is my favorite of that year. It might be one of my favorite movies ever. I don't know if it's top 10, but it might be top 20. I kind of just need to let time pass a little bit longer. But I think it's definitely really everything I would ask in a Godzilla movie. It's takes itself seriously. There's very strong characters. I care more about the humans than I do the monsters, which is really unheard of in most Godzilla movies. Like the humans are just kind of there to move the plot along, whereas here I actually care about them all. So, like I said at the very beginning, this is something that I think is made for people like me. And for that reason, extra large bucket with extra butter.
Love it.
Yep. And that
We did it.
we did it. That is Godzilla minus one, listeners.
Hooray.
So, Natalie, after I have subjected you to a movie that is very much for me and my taste, I'm very eager to know what is our next movie we're going to watch from your pick.
Garrett, I don't know how you feel about this kind of movie, and I'm not trying to punish you.
No, I think you very well should.
I'm not because I don't really like movies that I don't think people would like.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I'm not like you must watch this movie and you're
Yeah,
probably going to hate it.
I
I think
am.
I think that you might hate this movie. I don't know if you've even seen it. You probably have.
Hmm.
It's a pretty popular one. But one thing to know about me is that I love a good dystopian movie. So we are going to watch Divergent.
No.
Yay!
I haven't seen that movie in so long.
Good.
Of the this is what I will say before, because we're gonna do a full episode on it, obviously. Of the dystopian era movies, of the Hunger Gameses, the Maze Runners, the Divergents, Divergent is my least favorite of that time period. So I think we're gonna
And
have a
I
lot to
love
talk
them
about.
all.
We're gonna have a lot to talk about when we talk about Divergent.
I love them all.
Very exciting. So
So, I guess we're gonna have to do a full Hunger Games episode with all of the movies.
we
We're
will.
gonna have to do I would be down to do a Maze Runner full episode. We do not Divergent, you only need to watch the first one.
Yeah.
The rest of
I would
the other movies are absolute trash,
I
but the
wouldn't
first
touch the
one's good.
sequels with like a long stick.
I can't wait for our Twilight episode, Garrett.
One of these days. We need to have a guest mic though, so we can bring on Reese, your
Or
little sister.
Reese.
Yeah.
Yeah, Reese definitely. We cannot do a Twilight episode without Reese.
So one of these days we'll do Twilight. I do think we should do Hunger Games eventually because that might need to be several hours long because I have so many thoughts
Yeah, we
on
might have to
specifically
do
Mockingjay.
yeah, we might have to do
Two
all
parts.
3 movies.
Yeah. But thank you everybody for listening. Hopefully
Yes.
you watch Godzilla. If not, watch it, form your own opinion, and we'll see you in the next one when we discuss Divergent.
Yay!